Glass containers filled with human remains, severed hands, half-dissolved skulls, embryos preserved in chemical fluids. Medical students walked past them every day, believing they were just educational models. But the truth was more horrific than anyone could imagine. A man with a calm demeanor stood before the corpses, explaining with sickening smile that this art is called anatomy. They had no idea this was the man who had killed them, dismembered them, and kept them. His name was Mohamed Adam. But in Yemen, Sudan, Kuwait, they all knew him by a single title, the Morgue Demon. Deep in a long basement beneath Sana'a General Hospital, behind a rusty iron door that no one ever knocked on, Mohamed Adam would unfold his scalpel and lock the door. He wasn't just a mortician. He was a man who knew how to hide murder behind the guise of medicine, and how to make victims vanish without a commotion, without a party, without a trace. It all started in 1999, when an Iraqi student named Zainab, a medical student, came to him. Like other students, Zainab had heard this man could be persuaded to provide human specimens, or even to help you pass your exams. But she didn't know she was walking right into the monster's jaws. At first, she asked him for a plastic skull for a study and gave him money. But he began to evade her, delaying, dodging, stalling. Frustrated, she decided to threaten him. She told him, "If you don't deliver on your promise, I'll expose you to everyone." In that moment, his face completely changed. He shut the iron door behind her and whispered a single phrase: "Whoever opens their mouth ends up on the dissection table." He lunged at her, choked her until she lost consciousness, then slaughtered her right there in the morgue. But that wasn't the worst of it. After she died, he carved her body into small pieces. He kept some parts in glass boxes filled with preservative fluid and used a chemical compound he mixed himself to dissolve the bone and flesh until the entire body had vanished without a single trace. Afterward, he sat in the morgue, sipping his tea calmly as if nothing had happened. But Zainab wasn't his first victim. Before her, there was a Yemeni woman, his lover, who was pregnant with his child. She had helped him sell his victims' jewelry after he killed them, and she knew everything. One day, they argued over money, and he decided to end things his way. He killed her, cut open her womb, removed the fetus, and placed it inside a glass box inside the morgue as a memento. Then he carved up her entire body and dissolved it with the same chemical until she vanished as if she never existed. Mohamed Adam had turned the morgue into a slaughterhouse, hidden behind the veil of medicine. Anyone who entered might never come out. He sold body parts to students, took bribes from them, and then scammed them. And in some cases, he would violate the corpses after killing them, documenting it all on video, then hide the tapes inside the covers of religious lecture cassettes. On one occasion, at a university exhibition for the medical college, Mohammed brought out glass boxes containing real body parts from his victims. Students walked past them, thinking they were educational models, but they were the real remains of people who have never been identified to this day. When Zainab was reported missing, Mohamed Adam denied everything and walked free, because there was no body. That is until her bag was found hidden inside the morgue. And that was the beginning of the end for the Morgue Demon. But before we get into that, we need to flash back and ask, who is Mohamed Adam? How did he transform from an innocent child into one of the most monstrous killers the Arab world has ever known? Mohamed Adam wasn't born a killer, but he was born into a world of violence. In Sudan, when he was just 7 years old, he watched his mother return home, torn apart. She had been the victim of a horrific rape. His father returned home, steeped in a silent rage. No tears, no screams, just a thirst for revenge. True to that, a few days later, his father tracked down the rapist. He brought him back to their house, tied him up in a room, right in front of young Mohamed Muhammad's eyes, and then began to flog him, stab him, and slaughter him. He carved the man into pieces and buried him inside a livestock pit next to their home. Muhammad witnessed all of this as a child no older than 7, and in that moment, his very concept of humanity shattered inside him. Muhammad grew up as if devoid of a soul. He entered the field of anatomy and mortuary science and found in this work an environment that mirrored his own heart, cold, silent, and grey. He first worked in the morgue of Omdurman Hospital in Khartoum. He didn't speak much, but he knew the human body like a map. He knew exactly where to cut, where to hide things, and how to end it all without a sound. Later, he traveled to Kuwait. He worked in a large morgue in the same specialty and left behind a trail reports about missing body parts. But with no evidence, after all, who watches the mortician? He then returned to Sudan for a short period, and in 1995, he moved to Yemen, where the endless massacre began. Mohamed Adam entered the morgue of Sana'a General Hospital and exploited the chaos within the building, along with his sensitive position as a mortician, to turn the place into the stage of ongoing crime. He began cozying up to the medical students, selling them human body parts, haggling with them over bribes, tricking them into believing he could help them pass their exams. He even sold them leaked audio lectures for money. All of this was just a cover. The truth was, Mohamed Adam was killing victims. He chose his victims carefully. Students, colleagues, lovers, and no one ever suspected the mortician, because handling dead bodies was literally his job. In one of his confessions he said, "I lived among the corpses, but what I loved most was the moment a body transformed from a person into nothing." For years, Mohamed Adam killed and erased the evidence as if nothing was happening. But in 1999, he made a single mistake. One very small mistake that was enough to expose everything. The very first spark began with Zainab, the Iraqi medical student whose story we mentioned at the beginning. When she suddenly disappeared and never returned home, her mother felt that something was wrong. She called her daughter's friends and learned that Zainab had been going to see Mohamed Adam. She went to the morgue herself, confronted him, but he completely denied ever seeing her. Yet a mother's intuition saw through his lies. She went to the police and filed 2 reports, one for her daughter's disappearance, and another accusing Mohamed Adam of bribery and exploiting students. Mohamed Adam was arrested, but he denied everything. And because he was an expert at erasing evidence, he was once again released without any charges. But a few days later, one of Zainab's friends found her bag hidden inside the morgue. The situation exploded. The police returned immediately, arrested him again, and with the bag as evidence, Mohamed Adam's composure finally cracked. He began to confess, one after another, name after name, body after body. He admitted killing 16 female students in Yemen, each one of them previously just a missing person reports filed against an unknown perpetrator. But the worst part wasn't the number, it was the method. He would kill, then rape, then dismember the bodies, then dissolve them, or even keep parts of them in glass boxes, displayed at students' exhibitions. Sometimes he would hide the victims' remains in bags and then request burial permits from the university administration because the remains had become an inconvenience. As the investigation expanded, he confessed to other crimes in Sudan and Kuwait, totaling more than 27 victims, with no graves, no names, and no traces left behind. And in 2001, his death sentence was carried out in a public square in the center of Sana'a before thousands of people. His life ended just as he had lived it. Shocking, horrific, and unforgettable. And so concluded one of the most monstrous crime sprees to ever occur deep within a medical college morgue. Mohamed Adam, known as the Morgue Demon, was publicly executed for killing more than 27 victims. But this leaves us with a pressing question. How many real victims remain unknown to this day? Did he have accomplices? Or did he truly carry all of this out alone? Do you believe justice was truly served? Or are there still secrets buried within the walls of that morgue? Share your thoughts in the comments. And that brings us to the end of today's story. Catch you in the next one.